Happy holidays and welcome to another episode of Yamanote Podcasts. My name is Chris, and I want to just basically say I was going to wait until next week to do this, but I actually wanted to make another podcast for next week earlier because I'm going to be not doing a podcast live like I do last Wednesday. So avoiding having 2 weeks off, I wanted to just go ahead and just put out this one. It's about maybe it's about 1 a.m. right now. I wanted to go ahead and I had everything organized and I wanted to finally get an opportunity to just, put it together. But, it is Christmas Day, spending time with, family and friends. And, actually, and it's an even got a chance to watch the episode of, watch the latest Star Wars. Yeah, right, it's a Star Walker. Maybe a little later I can talk a little bit more about that. But I want to go ahead and just let this know this is like a special, podcast. Normally it won't be up on this late. Normally I will have it out by 9 p.m. On Wednesdays. Also, if anybody else this is their first time at this, listening to this podcast, Yamanote Tech and Society podcast is a podcast where people who are interested in building a business online, entrepreneurship, understanding the technologies that revolve around those things, and also how we can apply it to other parts of our lives. So it's a work in progress, as in like I don't really I this is like my 14th episode I've actually used to create a podcast. I've listened to podcasts for a while, so I'm not necessarily like a expert, but I don't think we need to actually be an expert before we actually do things like this. So I wanted to actually do in real time. We will be posting and on my social media accounts, and also telling you every week how my progress is going. And then I will go ahead and also use a newsletter to provide links to the references to the information I'm finding out. And I also hope to have in the near future, actual interviews of people who are in the business of either building their brand online, listening to people who are like influential, maybe if I find a way to, even get any other special trinkets or opportunities, I will, send it your way. So with that introduction, I'm going to just go ahead and just move into the next segment, which is going to be about tonight. Tonight's show is going to be pretty much about I've been spending a lot of time creating content, like different ways. So basically, when I try to say create content, it doesn't necessarily always mean, sitting down and typing out, 25 pages of documents of just like random things. I've actually been leaning towards the idea of creating micro content. That means that I would take an idea and I would break it down into maybe 2-3 minutes of a video or an audio clip, or maybe a Twitter post. Maybe I would take a document, I would break it down. A regular document could be like 2-3 pages, and I would break it down to small pieces, and I'll post it every day. I've been collecting quotes and sayings that I want to share with other people. I've been recording like things that I basically have heard and said different places, and try to build a way to redistribute that in such a way that allows the content to be valuable to you. So so I was going to go over that in this show. I also want I just want to try to keep things current. So I'll be spending a lot of time working with I guess like how the entertainment, or it's just like how pop culture revolves around the information I'm working with. So anything that comes up, I will also try to bring it up in this particular format, the podcast format. And hopefully I'll be able to keep things, try to get more and more organized, where I'll have like an actual, Google calendar that basically lists all of the shows that's going to be there, and maybe have more specific details of which episode is going to be there. Maybe even have it where, I can share that with anybody that is looking to, maybe if you want to go ahead and see a specific podcast. I might be changing the email address. I have another email address, like it's a default email address I'm thinking of using. It's called the Yamanote podcast at gmail.com. I'm not sure if I want to use that just yet. I like my regular email address because of the fact that it's Gmail, and it's my, my personal email address. And I'm trying to make sure that when I introduce myself to people, they can see, they can, find out that, I'm a real person. I'm not trying to scam or spam anybody. And hopefully we can get some actual, content that we can use and share. So I'm going to take a small break, and when we get back, we'll head on to the first segment of our show.
To my first and most fundamental principle, which is that you need to think for yourself about what is true. So let's get started. Early on, I discovered I needed principles. Principles are smart ways for handling things that happen over and over again in similar situations. There are principles for everything, from skiing to parenting to cooking, and so on. I'm going to share some of my most important overarching life principles that influence how we approach everything that we do. I didn't start out with principles. I acquired them over a lifetime of experiences, mostly from making mistakes and reflecting on them. My life principles are simple, but they're not complete. I still struggle to make the best decisions, and I still make mistakes and learn new principles all the time. This is the reality. At the beginning, I needed to escape the conventions that surrounded me, which meant that I needed to think for myself. Unless you want to have a life that is directed by others, you need to decide for yourself what to do, and you need to have the courage to do it.
All right, thanks for that little break we had there. So that's a little clip. If you were still listening straight through, Ray Dalio, I basically been talking about him in the last few podcasts and in the email newsletter, is a CEO and founder of Bridgewater Associates, and he is also a very successful investor, entrepreneur, and has written a book called Principles that basically takes the fundamentals of living a very valuable and full, purposeful life, following methods that he used in his own life, but is trying to break them down into something that anybody can use it. So you don't have to be an investor, you don't have to have millions of dollars. He just tries to lay out the guidelines for it. And I have his book, and I'm currently reading it. I have the audio book and the Kindle app. I'm also going to be utilizing that to create what we call like posts, so I can share with other people, because I'm hoping to build my podcasts and my brand around these foundations. It's very hard to find out where we should start out at. For instance, if you go to church, you would have your Bible, and you would have your Sunday school teacher, your church members, and you continue to do this every week to build that around. But suppose if you're trying to do this for your own life and you don't want to use your church anymore, for instance, well, you should find things that interests you. And this really interests me. Ray Dalio breaks it down into very simple steps that you do deep down inside. I know that this is how I should focus, but it feels great to actually hear someone else say it. And with the power of the internet, you can clip these videos and make posts and build out parts of your the content that you need based on these very particular clips. So you're going to be hearing more clips like this in this format, where I will be also making video clips throughout the week as well as these clips to help me to understand what is what is actually valuable for life, and things that interest me. I can find out whether or not these are probably things I should talk about on the podcast or not. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start talking about the first part item of the day, which is going to basically be the actual sorry, my mind went blank for a minute. Yeah, which is basically about having your social media platforms. I'm using maybe 5 or 6 platforms right now. Twitter, social, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and we have podcasting, which is not really a social media platform, but it's a medium that you can use to convey a message. And I'm trying to take bits and pieces of the things I want to talk about and try to elaborate on them in different ways that makes them more entertaining throughout the week, throughout the day. Because I feel that for the last 10 years, like using Facebook, I spent a lot of time just sharing like people's information. I would just take a meme, share with somebody, laugh, then maybe post a video from YouTube, share it and laugh. But I've also noticed over the time that I don't get many responses from somebody that posts a YouTube link. So if you post a YouTube link to someone else, you very rarely gets like responses back for it, which is why I decided to make a clip of the YouTube link and post that. And then inside the comments, I would post a YouTube link so people can see if they wanted to go back. And I found that much more successful over the last 6 months, actually. That allows me to share that information. Another thing I've also found out is that I've been using clips from things called like inShot, which is an iOS app that allows you to edit videos and post them on apps like Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. I like that app so much because of the fact that it works very well. It's very simple, and I have a plan. I think I have a yearly plan with it, like a $59.99 a year, and it allows you to like have multiple drafts. You have the freemium version of it, which is also available, where you can basically use it for free. Will have the inShot the inShot watermark on it, which is a pain if you're not really if you don't really want to have the information all over the place. Like the actual logo would be on your video that you post, and you wouldn't be able to save multiple drafts. So that's just one of the things I'm using. Then I slowly use a notebook to keep track of the things I want to talk about. And I'm going through my YouTube subscription links and some of my emails of people I've spoken to, that's in the public eye, like Javid Abrams from CPD, from Cheap Ass Gamer, Rob Roberts from Orange Lounge Radio. There's a few other people. King Carter from Hot Damn My Rock. He's a YouTuber. There's a few people I want to kind of spit back though. Jabril Ogoro. He basically does Passport Heavy. Prince EA, who also does some stuff as well for like inspirational, motivational speech. I'm hoping to reach out to people like that and more. I'm probably gonna like maybe spend like maybe the next 3 to 6 months writing emails to them and posting information about them in hopes of maybe be able to get an interview to talk to them about what are some of the things that they believe that you should do in order to become, successful on, with this new social media like branding. And this, the definition of success would be where you can consistently, my definition of success for it exactly would be consistently can be able to print out content each week without it conflicting with a regular 9 to 5 job, if that's what people, because I feel like that's going to be the ideal. Anything that goes more than that, I think is going to be kind of pushing it, because that'd be full time, and I'm not ready to do this full time just yet. Meaning that if I only have one interview a month, that's fine. Even one or two interviews a year, that'd be fine. But for right now, I really want to be able to organize the information I'm consuming into creative content that can be shared with other people. So as time goes on, if people even share my information online, they would be able to listen to me from different points of views, in which they might want to follow me or might not want to follow me, and it helps people to get an idea of who you are. I don't think we do that very well. I think that, my generation, I was born, basically they're considered like a millennial. So I've actually lived before having a personal computer in my house and having a personal computer in the house. I had a beeper before, and I had a two-way pager to a entire cell phone, smartphone, and because of these things, I find that it's becoming very difficult to talk with many of my colleagues and friends and family, because a lot of them are not ready to jump into this public view. And I'm really seeing around me, between the books I'm reading, between the movies I'm watching, and the games, and even people at work, you notice that they're changing their way we talk. I mean, with me working with software development, for instance, I spent a great deal of the last 5-6 years working on applications to make them more responsive to mobile devices, meaning that we think of mobile first. We design and we develop the application with the person that's going to be using the device, using the application on the phone, and not on your desktop. That doesn't mean it doesn't work on your desktop. That just means that when a lot more money and social engineering, research and design, R&D goes into that. And after doing that so much, I just I don't know if it's actually worth all of the time to not even pretend to be, have a podcast. I and that's the whole thing. I want to be able to do these podcasts and these types of things, not because I want to tell people how I feel. Oops. Yeah. More like I want to tell myself how I feel, and I want to be able to go back and hear what I've said in such a way that maybe I can understand on where I'm at with what I'm trying to say, because I feel that, for instance, talking, trying to strike up conversations, like when you're like texting, it's you don't get a chance to say a lot. You spend a lot of time getting someone's attention. You go back and forth. You're usually multitasking. This, I'm giving my full attention to something, and I dedicate it right now a half an hour to it. I know that there's some videos on there, and there's some podcasts out there that go on for 3 hours, and I don't necessarily feel that's good for time. I feel like if I'm gonna do something like that, for example, I would prefer to maybe have a separate channel or separate podcasts where people can just listen to that if they wanted to. But I feel like with this is going to be constructive content, constructive doc, constructed information where I spend time talking about, you know, how how we can move from working, 40 hours a week to working 20 hours a week. Where are the best places to live if you wanted to save money? How to go from turning some of your taxes that you pay, turn that into income. How you can live like you only make $27,000 a year rather than making while making actually $45,000 a year. I feel like there's always it's a solution to every problem we have, and I think that when I talk to people face to face, I get this like I'm trying to shame someone or tell people like what they're doing is not right, when it's not really about what they're doing is not right. So I would have loved to have grown up where somebody would have said, "Hey, I think I have a better way, and I want you to hear it out," and we trust, we wait for somebody to come out and say to us that is like so, you know in mark they've been socially engineered to get you to say, to do the things the way they want you to do, and you end up spending a lot more money for it. I feel like you don't have to spend that much money for it. I think it's about your habits, and I just want to be able to try these things out in real time, and then when it does work, because it will, in my belief, I believe it will. It is working for me. If you listen to some of the earlier podcasts that I actually started, back in October, and you see now, I think I'm a much more. I've improved a little bit, and I spend time listening to several different ways, like just Skillshare, for instance, or Brilliant.org, that allows you to listen to people's like tutorials on how to be a podcaster, what apps to use. That's why I started using Anchor, because Anchor is relatively new. Some people feel like you shouldn't use it. I mean, I can always move to someplace else, but for right now, I kind of like that I'm able to work on it. And it also makes me productive because now every week I have to have something to say. You get it? I have to have something to say. I have to have something to talk about and to share every week. Meaning that every week I have to make sure that this is actually ready, and it keeps me accountable for the things that I do. And I also spend during the week to talk about the things that I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to do, because I feel that people do not let themselves be accountable for the things they're looking to get. I think that's where I'm trying to get at right now. I want to be able to learn in public and to make myself accountable for the things that goes wrong. So if like next year, this time, if I'm still doing this, we can go back and say, did I make that? Did I do enough with my time that I actually had to make things work? I want to be able to have at least emailed like 100, different people. And whether I get a response from them or not, I want to be able to, maybe I'll even have a podcast where I will email each one, and I will, read out what I said. And then maybe you as the audience can listen to what I said and say and hear me and say, ask me, hey, maybe that's not what you should have said, or maybe you should have said this, or well, maybe they're busy, or maybe if I do get one of the people on, I can say, I wrote you this. What did you guys think of it? Did you think it was good enough? Did you think it was, were you willing to talk to me after just hearing that cold email? Those are the things I want to be able to do. There's a lot of people online who are doing, some sort of like, influential, entrepreneurship. There might be like the Instagram models, for instance. You have people selling and sharing items online, like as people are trying to sell houses, or they're helping people with consulting in their business and stuff like that. And I think that this is it. I think this is really gonna make or break us. And I feel like this allows me to drive to even write content about myself, which is what I want to do too. Uh, Not to get off track, Gary Vaynerchuk, he's pretty much one of the top, I guess, influential entrepreneurs out there that is really hitting it home for me because he's telling it how it is, and he's really helping a lot. A lot of the things I read from his book called Crushing It, and as well as the stuff he puts out every day, is helping me to be motivated. And I just want, my friends and my family to really jump in on it, because if you um if you don't get a chance to um if you don't get a chance to at least try your best on something new, then what you're doing is you're doing it because you don't have any other choice. So that's what I want to get at. And like he tells you, like, hey, just put the work in. And this is actually so much fun, like being able to talk about these things, and this is so much fun. And I feel that I'm talking about things the way I wanted to. I mean, I actually have a YouTube video that I put out in 2013 about the movie what do you call it again? It was what was it? It was Man of Steel. That's what it was. It was Man of Steel, and I was so taken back by it because it was a Christopher Nolan movie, and we all know his movies are awesome. He came out with the Batman trilogy, Interstellar, and the new Tenet movie is coming out. I think next year. I think next year, or maybe it's a year after. I think it's a year from now. I don't know. It's coming out soon. Maybe like next year sometime. Maybe not anytime soon. And I was thinking about doing content like that back then, but I was just totally thrown apart by it when it was time to look for the information to do the content. Like, I was lost. I listened to other people, and I just listened. And I made that video, and I posted it, and I think over like a couple of years it got like a couple hundred views. Some people posted things, and nobody really said anything bad. Some people just talked about the movie, but looking at myself and seeing that I was able to express myself, about it. The reason why I actually did that video, just to bring it back, was because of the fact that I had friends that didn't see the movie yet that wanted me to tell them their part, like tell me, like they wanted me to tell them how the movie was, and they were like, okay, wow, what you think of the movie? And like, I didn't like having to ask the question after they watched the movie, because I might watch the movie day one, they may not see the movie till day 12. So that way I'm actually saving my expression or my feedback in real time, and then they can look back at it whenever they want to. That's how I kind of looked at how this social media platform was supposed to be about. But I think moving forward today, because of Facebook and how they're portrayed into the audience about how they didn't really protect people's privacy, and people don't really want to use Facebook the way they used to, and people just push really mundane stuff that doesn't necessarily connect you with anything. It's just, you'll have people who are online, but they're not really talking to each other, and people who are talking to each other, but they're hiding their face, and they're just looking for quick laughs and stuff. And when I feel like we can't let that stop us doing from what we do. We all have very interesting lives, we're all inspirational. We all have something to share, and I don't think that we should wait until there's no other option, and now you're trying to do this because you want to start getting it for money. It can't be about money. It has to be about connecting with people. if you make something online enough, if you whatever you do, if you're a gamer, you can make a video game blog where you talk about not just you making but you playing through the game. If you're really good at the game, you can talk about each level and what to do in each level, what to look out for. You can go ahead and you can get somebody to help you to make small little like tutorials to help people get through each version of the game, and then post them on different sites. You can also go ahead and try to connect with other people who are also being gamers on it and get them to talk about it. The key is that you want to start a circle, a following of people who are like also excited about the game, because if you got more people who are like interacting about something, the more minds and more ideas can get kicked around. I think that's how like Orange Lounge Radio started out as. It was like just a couple of guys who like playing DDR and wanted to start like a radio show, and then it was always a radio show, and then after that it became like a podcast, but it's actually a live like fake radio show that happens on Sundays, and I've been listening to it for years. um Podcasting doesn't necessarily mean that you have to actually do you have to record straight to audio and upload. It could be something where your podcast can be something where you're just talking on the phone with your friends, and then you just upload that. It doesn't really have to really be anything. But the problem about it is that you have to allow people to get a chance to learn a little bit more about you. If you're trying to sell items, let's say you're trying to sell clothes, maybe you could talk about like what it goes through, what you have to go through to make these clothes. Talk about the process. Help people understand how much money it costs. Interview your models, each one of them. Have them come on your show and talk to you about it. Give people a reason to buy your stuff. If they feel that there's more reason to buy the clothes from you than from Target or from anywhere, from any store, you win, because now people feel more, you put more value in your things. But if you just throw something, even me, like this podcast, I try not to just throw this podcast in people's faces. I start out with a newsletter, and I talk to people who I know, my friends, my family, one by one, actually, an email, a post, a blog post, a text message, and I get their email address and I try to send out one at a time. And I don't really care about getting like millions of followers, because I think that it's not really about that. It's more about, I want to make sure that I'm putting out things that is worth talking about, So I'm going to take a break right there. I think that I don't know yeah, I do got it. Yeah. So that was actually like a while. It's a big long rant. I don't usually do that long rant like that, but that's what I did today. So I'm gonna take a break, and when I get back, we will try to close out the podcast. Hey, what's going on? I just wanted to take this moment just to thank you so much for still listening to the podcast. It really helps, helps me to know that whatever I'm saying is you feel interested in. Right now this would be like the 9th episode I've made. So, and the only people who really would basically be listening to is the people who actually know me, or so people who like stumble upon it randomly online, either because you were looking me up or you were looking up something that was in the keywords. So basically, each week I like to bring like an idea on how you can develop yourself into a better person by me like using books and videos and just experiments of my own to to become a better person. And then whether I be successful or not, I will show that to you or talk about it to you here. If any deals or discounts that comes in my way, I will let people know, and I'll just move on from there. So today I would basically say that these podcasts are being made through Anchor FM, which is a website that allows you to create a podcast on your mobile phone or on the laptop or PC. And you can do it all for free, and it posts it to Spotify as well as a lot of other small podcasting RSS feeds. And I keep track of all of my notes utilizing a notebook and Evernote. And so if you're interested in learning more about these things, please feel free to, email me at ksamuel.chris@gmail.com. That's ksamuel.chris@gmail.com. And just, making something in the subject line, just, put the name of the podcast, Yamanote in Tech and Society. And inside the email, just like a question, if saying hi, why you like the show, why not like the show. And any questions I'll answer on the show. So thanks a lot. Take care. All right. So before we wrap up this week's podcast, I just want to take a moment to remind you that if you're looking to really start anything, make sure that you are writing it down. Writing things down is one of the most crucial things that I've ever done when it came down to preparing anything, whether it was preparing to, bake a cake, or to write some code for work, or to maybe even start this podcast. Every day I have like a little journal where I date it, time, I will jot down anything I basically want to do or think about during the week. And then when it's time to make the newsletter, I just go back to the beginning of the week and put all these things into the computer. It's very simple. And then I can, make it nicer, adding nice links and things like that, because Google Docs is awesome because of the fact that you can pull all of your you can actually post and upload all of your links and your audio clips from everywhere, and then just link them to your newsletter. And then people can read the newsletter and follow along if they want to. And the key is that you want to build the consistency so it's easy for you to understand and go back to. And if it's easy for you to understand, then it's easier for your audience to understand. And it's just that simple. I mean, I don't know any other way of actually explaining it, but yeah, journaling is great. And I don't know, I'm gonna be putting out more things about me, the things I want to do, from the favorite pens I use to the books, where I like to go to travel, what I do on my free time, the things I've worked on, everything, where I went to school, my friends. I'm gonna try to have like all types of things on here, and hopefully maybe it works out for you. If not, you'll be able to get an idea. Maybe you would want to maybe make a video, or maybe you want to start a podcast. You don't know what's going on, but make sure that if you want to do anything, start in your journal and email me. If you want to be a part of the what we have my newsletter, that's just email me at ksamuel.chris@gmail.com. And hopefully you'll be able to find some time to talk. If not, you can always say hi, whatever. It doesn't really matter. And I think that'll be it for this weekend. So happy holidays, everybody here in the States. Anybody outside the States, have a good weekend. And see you on the next episode.
You realize, to your astonishment, there is no way at all of having your mind anywhere else but in the present moment. Because even when you think about the past or the future, you're doing it now, aren't you? And that results in a very curious transformation of consciousness. You feel that the present moment is flowing along and carrying you with it all the time. Just like the flow of the Tao. The flow of the Tao is what we would call the flow of the present. See? And you're with it. There's no way of being anywhere else. The Jungyun, the book called The Unwobbling Pivot, says the Tao is that from which one cannot deviate. That from which one can deviate is not the Tao. Or to put it into the form of a Zen story, the master Joshu said to Nansen, "What is the Tao?" Nansen replied, "Your everyday mind is the Tao." Joshu asked, "How do you get into accord with it?" Nansen replied, "When you try to accord, you deviate."